Halle Bailey has announced that she has had a baby. For months now, people, if you're on social media, anywhere on social media, you've seen people have been speculating for months. Is she? Isn't she? For a little minute now, people would see Holly out, and she would be wearing like oversized clothes, things that would kind of hint that, something's up. I don't know when the word first got out. I don't know who did they research, who first leaked something about her possibly being pregnant. I don't know who sowed that seed for the internets. But once it was there, it was there. And then you seen Holly out, fully clothed, and no matter where she was, with big stuff on, and people was like, she's pregnant. She's pregnant. And then Holly never confirmed it. There was only one picture one time a few months ago. Holly had on like a sweatshirt, a sweater hoodie, and it was so clear and obvious that she had a stomach. And I was like, oh, maybe she don't care anymore. Like, cause she just was like smiling. Paparazzi was just catching her. And it was so obvious. And that one photo, that's the one photo out of all the times where people was like, is that a bump? Is that not a bump? Where I've personally seen the bump. But still, no, she wasn't saying anything. And I'm like, well, maybe she wants to be like a role model. You know, she just did The Little Mermaid. She got all these little girls watching her out there. She don't want to be flaunting a stomach out here promoting pregnancy. You know, she just hit it. I'm like, maybe once after she has it, she'll announce it. And then it was the rumor that she had the baby. And it was funny because you see videos of her and she's like moving slow or stuff like that. And it's like, that's people online was like, that's someone who just had a baby. That's how they would be moving and looking, blah, blah, blah. But Holly did it on her own time and she announced it. Finally, she posted a picture holding a little hand. And she said, the baby's name is Halo. She said, even though we're a few days into the new year, the greatest thing that 2023 could have done for me was bring me my son. Welcome to the world, my Halo. The world is desperate to know you, with a winking eye emoji, because the internet was internet and they was fiending. Holly couldn't go anywhere without it being pregnancy talk or how her nose looked like she's pregnant or anything. She did it on her time, and I respect it. I respect it. You don't gotta announce that you're pregnant to the world. You don't gotta walk around with your stomach showing. If you choose to, you choose to, but you don't have to. So she did it her way. She decided to keep it under wraps, literally. And when she was good and ready, she revealed she has a son. So yeah, fast shouts to you, Holly. Congratulations. And now the people can shut up, I guess, right? And stop wondering, because it's true. Confirmed. Let's talk about this list that has come out. This, what they're calling the Epstein list. Jeffrey Epstein, who we know what he was accused of. And he had this island and this jet and all of that. So this list, it was kind of set up that this list was going to come out and it was going to feature the names of everyone who's like associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And how the list was set up, it made one believe that if your name was on this list, you were like directly tied to boarding the jet or was on the island or actually was a part of the underage activities or what have you that was taking place on this island. That's how it was set up. Like, oh, this list is coming out. It's going to have all of these names. Some of your faves are on there or maybe on there. Like, what are we going to do when this list come out? Are we going to still mess with these people? Are we going to still support them? Blah, blah, blah. Who's on the list? Who's on the list is how it was set up. So now The list is out. And one thing that people are not understanding or don't care to read into is this list is going to include people who may have just been associated. It's including victims, is including people who just knew Jeffrey, who may have been cool with him. And it is, of course, going to include people who are a part of the BS that was going on. It's going to include everything. So to see a person's name on here is not to immediately think that they had anything to do with the wrongdoings that Jeffrey Epstein or whoever else was involved with. But what happens is this list comes out, and then you got blogs that are taking the biggest names, no matter what their association is, and plastering their face and names in big, bold letters for the blogs to see. And of course, nobody reads. Nobody even bothers to read the caption of a post. They're reading headlines, seeing pictures like kids, like children's books, like big pictures, big words, and that's what we're running with. And Naomi Campbell is one of the people who I want to talk about today because her name was on this list. And it's why her name is on this list, why it's so crazy to me, because they were prosecutors or whoever were interviewing one of the victims and having her recall like the time she was with Jeffrey or what have you, and Naomi's name come up because it was basically like a time mark. She mentioned, the person mentioned something about it was around the time Naomi Campbell had her birthday party in Paris or something like that. And that's why Naomi Campbell's name was brought up, just from the timestamp. It was around the time Naomi Campbell had her birthday party. And now Naomi Campbell's name and picture is just plastered across the blogs as if she was a part of the wrongdoings, because nobody bothered to read why Naomi Campbell's name was mentioned. But Naomi Campbell's name is on this list, so she's guilty. And it's like, what? Even Michael Jackson name was on this list, and of course his face is plastered and Michael Jackson's on this list. And similar to Naomi Campbell's situation, his name was mentioned because they were questioning one of the witnesses, victims, whatever, the accusers, about the big names that has she ever met anyone famous, I guess. Have you ever met anyone famous while being around, I guess, Jeffrey? And they specifically said, did you ever meet anyone famous when you were with Jeffrey? And this person said, I met Michael Jackson at Jeffrey Epstein's house in Palm Beach. They asked the person, had they given Jackson a massage? I guess massages were part of the thing that this person had to do at the time. And they specifically said no. They only mentioned that they met Michael Jackson at Jeffrey's house. And all of a sudden now Michael Jackson must be a part of this. And it's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy because no one decides to look into exactly why certain people's name were mentioned in this list. Naomi Campbell, even a few years ago, she actually did a interview because her name was trending when this first hit the fan, and we discovered a lot of these things about Jeffrey Epstein, and her name was mentioned because of her association. And this is like the biggest guilty by association thing there is. And during that YouTube video that Naomi put out, she basically said, yes, I knew him. She said, I was introduced to him on my 31st birthday by my ex-boyfriend, Flavio. He was always front and center at the Victoria's Secret fashion shows. She said he's one of the hundreds of thousands of people that I've stood next to and taken pictures with. But regarding his alleged crimes at the time, she said, what he has done is indefensible. She said, when I heard what he done, it sickened me to my stomach, just like everybody else, because I've had my fair share of predators, and thank God I've had good people around me that protected me from this. She said, I stand with the victims. They're scarred for life. She said, she didn't want it to be her works and anything that she has done in association with Jeffrey in whatever way. She didn't want it to be overshadowed, the work to be overshadowed by his wrongdoings. She said the frightening conclusion here is that if the negative action of your neighbor, colleague, or even an associate can somehow make you guilty too, simply by association, then we indeed live in very worrying times. This affects us all. It's wrong, it's unfair, and it must be stopped. And it's like, we could be friends with people, we could be around people and not know what's going on behind their door when they go home, what they're doing at night or whatever. So just because someone knows someone, was at their house with them, partied with them, doesn't mean that they know everything this person is doing. And it's unfair that this list comes out and you got Michael Jackson, you got Naomi Campbell name just plastered just because they were mentioned. Like, it's kind of wild to me. So I guess the takeaway from this for me is people got to like do more research, I guess, or even just wait till everything comes out instead of just like jumping to conclusions or whatever. We don't know what these people have done, didn't done, what they knew, what they didn't know. But just because their names was mentioned and happened to be on the list, a list that's filled with not only victims, but associates, just people who's like just around at the time, not everybody's guilty of wrongdoing that's on this list. So that's the biggest thing. But the internet is gonna internet, right? And that's where we are. Hopefully we do better in 2024. Hopefully. I'll be finding myself in the comment section sometimes trying to like make people see a different angle, because I'll just browse the comments and I'll just see a bunch of people with just jumping on the bandwagon of what the last comment just said, or just like wanted to be true that these people had done something wrong. And it's like, y'all just want to talk because y'all got mouths. Like, it's crazy. That was that. Let's talk about Taraji P. Henson and how she's back in these blogs. They are still out here promoting The Color Purple. And we first learned about Taraji being upset about the disparities in pay gap and how, you know, she got to fight to receive a portion of the pay that other people are getting, that whole thing. But now we're learning more details about what happened during her latest film, The Color Purple. One thing Taraji's saying that they wanted the cast, the production, whoever's in charge of this, wanted the cast to drive themselves to set. They gave them rental cars and wanted them to drive themselves to set for The Color Purple. And Taraji said, I was like, I can't drive myself to set in Atlanta. She said, this is an insurance liability. It's dangerous. Now they robbing people. She said, what do I look like taking myself to work by myself in a rental car? So I was like, can I get a driver or security to take me? I'm not asking for the moon. And she said, production was like, well, if we do it for you, we got to do it for everybody. She's like, well, do it for everybody then. Like, but she's like, it's stuff like that I shouldn't have to fight for. I was on the set of Empire fighting for trailers that wasn't infested with bugs. She said, because you have to fight so hard to establish a name for yourself and be respected in this town to no avail. It's crazy. The only thing I could think of is disrespectful. And we've heard all the time, the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. And I guess it holds no bounds. It crosses all lines, even as a star on a movie set. How dare you try to give these people trailers that's infested with bugs when she was working on Empire? It's like disrespectful. That's the only way I could describe it. Disrespectful. And then The Color Purple, to offer them rental cars. This is just like to cut back on the budget, on the cost, on like, cause what? And then you got Gabrielle, what's her name? Danielle Brooks, who's also in the Color Purple, who spoke out recently about the conditions on we're working on The Color Purple. She said when they first was working on it, I think they were doing rehearsals at the time or whatever, they wanted them to share dressing rooms. Not only did they want them to share dressing rooms, they also didn't have any food for them. And it's like, these are like the bare necessities you would expect on a movie set. And it's like, what's going on? Danielle said, I remember when we first came in and we were doing rehearsal and they put us all in the same space. We didn't have our own dressing rooms at the time. She said, also, we didn't have any food. And they, both Taraji and Danielle, praised Oprah, who was sitting right next to them, and said, but Oprah corrected it for us. She said, with one phone call, Danielle said, this is my first studio film, so sometimes you just come in saying, okay, well, I'm just here to take whatever they give me. I'm just happy to be here. She said, but Taraji Henson spoke up for us and showed me how to do that as well. And it's like, they got to call Oprah up like, yo, we ain't got no food. They got us in the same space. Like, it's crazy. I don't know who's in charge and who's at fault. Fast shouts to Oprah, though, for correcting the matter. But it's like, why are we even there to begin with? Why is that even an issue? Disrespect. Disrespectful. That's the only thing I could think of. Disrespectful. I can't imagine this would go on the set of a predominantly white cast film. And yeah. Taraji also made another note. She said, with Black films, they just don't want to take us overseas. And I don't understand that. She said, Black translates all over the world. So why wouldn't the movies? I have a following in China, of all places. You're not going to capitalize on that? Don't everybody want to make money here? She said, I'm not the person that pulls the race card every time, but what else is it then? Tell me. I'd rather it not be race, but please give me something else. And that's where I'm at right now with it. Like, when I mentioned it wouldn't happen on a white set, or all white set, it's like, what else is it? Please enlighten me. What else? It's crazy. Someone said, especially since the film costs close to 90 million, and this is why the film isn't going above in the box office, because it's not shown internationally, which is, it's crazy. Disrespect. And we gotta do better. Like there's so many things about us as Black people that people of every other wants to emulate, wants to copy. There's so many things that is wild to think we can't put y'all movie over here because they're not gonna like go see it. People gonna go see whatever you promote, whatever you put out. Like, how are they gonna go see it if it's not being promoted properly? Like, you're cutting it off at the legs before it even has a chance. Like give it a chance. And don't just open it in limited theaters either, because that's another reason why the numbers won't be the numbers, because you put it in only certain theaters at certain times. Like, give it the chance that you would give any other movie and then see what it does from there. Just give it the chance. But yeah, I applaud Taraji and Danielle and the cast, because this is opening up for a larger conversation, and hopefully for their next projects they don't have to fight so hard to get these bare necessities. But yeah. Last thing on that, a comment says, don't think just because one predominantly Black film doesn't do well, all won't. That part. Paula Abdul. I knew that it wasn't the end regarding like claims of true assault, true abuse, especially given these new laws that have been passed, where it's given victims a window to come forward despite statute of limitations. So Paula was the first one getting it in. This happened before the new year even came in, but she accused Nigel Lythgoe, who is the executive producer of American Idol, So You Think You Can Dance. You know his face. If you just Google his name, you'd be like, oh, that guy. When I first seen this, I was looking like, whatever she said he did, he did. Like, look at this man's face. Like, he just had like this, I don't know. It was something in the way he was smiling. I don't know what it was, but I'm like, that guilty. Like, I don't know. But jokes aside, Paula Abdul is accusing him of assault on multiple occasions. She said that the first incident occurred during one of Idol's initial seasons. She said when they were traveling, she said her and Nigel were in the elevator together at their hotel. She said when the doors closed, he allegedly shoved her against the wall, grabbed her breasts while attempting to tongue kiss her. She said she tried to push him away, then the doors opened. She ran to a hotel room. She said she immediately called her rep and told them about the incident, but she was in fear that she would be fired in retaliation for speaking out officially, so she opted to stay silent, which I could imagine is not uncommon, especially in Hollywood. We've seen stories countless times of people who probably feel like there's going to be some repercussions behind it, so they'll just take it. Fast forward a few years later, now on the during the production of So You Think You Can Dance, where Paula was a judge as well, executive produced by Nigel. Some point within the 2 seasons, within the first 2 seasons where she was a judge, she said he invited her to his crib to talk about work opportunities. One would think, why would you even go, right? Like, why would you even go to this man's crib after he done grabbed you up in the elevator? I don't care how many years has passed. I'd have been like, nah, I'm good, or I'm bringing somebody with me or whatever. Paula, I guess she thought it was a work thing, and maybe she just trusted that this was going to be professional this time. But predators going to prey, right? Like, so before the night ended, she claimed that Nigel forced himself on her while she was on the couch and again tried to kiss her, and was saying that they'll make an excellent power couple, is what she's alleging. He said she again pushed him off of her, stressed she wasn't interested, and left. That was in 2015. Here we are 9 years later, well, 8 years later, 8 to 9 years later, she decided to come forward, and she's suing him and his company, 19 Entertainment, Fremantle Media, North America, And yeah, this is what's going on right now. This is filed. This is the first public big suit under this California's Abuse and Cover-Up Accountability Act, which similar to the Survivors Act in New York that we had last year, where it grants people this window to file, no matter how long it's been. So, yikes. Nigel has responded to the lawsuit, and his statement reads, "To say that I am shocked and saddened by the allegations made against me by Paula Abdul is a wild understatement." He said, "For more than 2 decades, Paula and I have interacted as dear and entirely platonic friends and colleagues. Yesterday, however, out of the blue, I learned of these claims in the press, and I want to be clear, not only are they false, they are deeply offensive to me and to everything I stand for." While Paula's history of erratic behavior is well known, I'm doing these pauses. If you're on YouTube, you're probably going to see my facial expressions. But he says, "I can't pretend to understand exactly why she would file a lawsuit that she must know is untrue. But I can't promise that. But I can promise that I will fight this appalling smear with everything I have." Man said Paula's history of erratic behavior is well known. Really, Nigel? Someone said there are more tactful ways of describing a friend and colleague of more than 20 years than to basically call a woman a lunatic. The tone of his words matches the description Paula gave, and he unwittingly added to her defense. Yeah. I don't know, Nigel. I don't know. These incidences, they're like so specific, and it's 2 times that she's claiming. If I was on the jury, I'd believe her. I believe her. Nigel has also stepped down now from his company, from being the executive producer on So You Think You Can Dance, amid these allegations. Similar to, I guess, the reason why Diddy stepped back from the revolt, because they don't want it to taint the what's going on. So he stepped down. Someone said they believe other women came out too. I haven't heard of the others, but I'm sure I could believe it without question, because that's always the case, right? Whenever someone comes out with allegations, generally they're not the only one. They're not going to be the only one. If this person is bold enough to do this to someone like Paula Abdul, who is famous and who does have a name and all of this, I could imagine there are going to be others as well that's going to come out who may not even have a name, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm not sure what Paula is like suing for, if it's like a monetary thing or if it's just to, she want to start 2024 clean slate. She want to expose the predator. I'm not sure why, but I applaud her for coming forward. And I mean, I guess you have to be in their position, in their shoes, in order to really understand why. But I could only hope personally that more women and men who are victims of assault, I just could only hope that they would find the courage to like come forward sooner, like nip it in the bud, like immediately, soon as it happens, like, call these people out. Yeah, because to think you gotta carry this with you, and you're still working with this person because they're executive producer on the show, and you feeling like you gotta pay your bills and all of this. So you just like you gotta see this person every day and smile in their face and take pictures on red carpets. And he a few years ago was feeling on your breast, like and trying to kiss you, and like so. I know it's got to be a little weird to be in them environments. So I'm learning in a new suit. Two women came forward after Paula. Two women who say they were contestants of an all-female competition series in 2003 say Nigel Lythgoe assaulted them. Yikes! When it rains, it pours. And another thing, Cat Williams joked about in the Club Shay Shay interview is like it's gonna be the year of like the truth, or just like a lot of things are gonna be exposed, I feel. Especially with these new laws in place where people may have thought they were safe because of statute of limitations, and it's like, nah. Paula even said that Nigel even taunted her at one point. 7 years had passed. I think it was 7 years, which I think was the statute of limitations at the time, where she said he called her up like, we should celebrate because the statute of limitations has passed. Like, what? My man, what's going on with you? Just arrogant, feeling like I got you, like I'm more powerful than you. Who's gonna believe you? Yikes. All I know is anyone out there, California, New York, or any other state who has these laws in place where victims have this window, they're shaking in their boots, just hoping that whoever they assaulted or whatever doesn't come forward. It's wild. We're gonna move on. What else is hot in these blogs? Speaking of lists, Rolling Stone has released a new one, a list of the top 20, the 100 best R&B songs of the 21st century. Rolling Stone has made some controversial lists over the past few months where you be looking like, really? Like, what? Who made this list? This one in particular, I'm not particularly mad at who's number one on the list. Y'all could tell me if y'all agree or not. But number one, the top 100 best R&B songs of the 21st century. Number one is Usher, Confessions Part 2. These are my confessions. Just enough. I ain't mad at it. That whole Confessions album was one for the books. Like, that album broke so many records. That album had us all in a chokehold. That was a real solid album. And Confessions was a real solid song. So I ain't mad that it's considered to be, by Rolling Stone, the best R&B song of the 21st century. And the top 20 songs on this list, number 20. Now, the rest of this list, let me just say, the rest of this list, I can't say I agree with everything. I would probably move some things around. I'm only saying that I'm not mad at the Usher being number one. But according to Rolling Stone, the 20th best song of the 21st century is Michael Jackson, Rock My World. Number 19 is SZA, Snooze. Number 18 is Solange, Cranes in the Sky. 17 is Toni Braxton, He Wasn't Man Enough. 16 is Maxwell, Pretty Wings, so pretty. That's my shit. 15 is Aaliyah, Rock the Boat. 14 is Beyonce, Love on Top. Beyonce actually got 2 songs on this list. 13 is Daniel Caesar and Her, Best Part. Another fire. 12 is Pharrell and Jay-Z frontin'. Big. 11 is Miguel Adorn. Let my love adorn you. 10 is Brandy Full Moon. Another solid joint. 9 is Erykah Badu. Bag lady, you gon' miss your bus. 8 is John Legend, Ordinary People. That song had me in the chokehold when it first dropped. For sure. You couldn't tell me I ain't sound like John Legend singing that song. 7, Alicia Keys, Fallen. 6, Frank Ocean, Thinking About You. 5, Mariah Carey, We Belong Together. 4, Mary J. Blige, Be Without You. 3, Beyonce, the second song on this list, Dangerously in Love Part 2. 2 is D'Angelo, How Does It Feel? That was definitely a big song, big video, especially at the time. And number 1, like I mentioned, is Usher, Confessions Part 2. So like I said, I would probably arrange some of the other ones, but hey, I'm not mad. Who do y'all think should be the number 1? Who do you feel is the best song of the 21st century? 21st century meaning starting from 2001, of January of 2001 up until it's going to go until the year 2100. That's the 21st century. So we still got, what, 70 something more years to go for this 21st century. But for right now, who do y'all think had the best R&B song so far of the 21st century? Someone said, I love Usher's, but I guess subjective. Very, very subjective. Very. I'm not mad at it. Like I said, I don't even know. I ain't even care to think like who I would put in the place of, because I'm like, fuck it, right? Like, Confessions, take it. But yeah, so let me know what y'all think. Who would you say belongs in the top 20 or should be? Matter of fact, just keep it. Who should be number 1? Who's your top best R&B song that has come out since January of 2001? Yeah. Fast shots to Usher, though. Your man's about to do the Super Bowl next month. Got a new album dropping. It's going to be a good year. Someone said Usher is in good PR mode right now. Good hookup, Super Bowl bound. Is that to suggest that Usher paid for this slot on the Rolling Stones Hot 100 list? It's definitely going to get the people talking for sure with him being number 1. But until the next list comes out that I don't agree with from Rolling Stone. But yeah, 21st century top R&B. Yeah. So we're going to get ready to wrap this thing on up. Our first show of 2024. Appreciate you for listening. However you're listening, be sure to follow me on social media at I Am Holliewood. That's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And if you're on TikTok, it's at I Am Holliewood NY. Follow my producer Stacy over here, holding it down at Hampton Blue Network. BLU is how you spell blue. Just search that across all platforms. You're going to find it. And if you want to see our faces, youtube.com/Hampton Blue. That's it. First show of the year down. Appreciate you for listening. However you're listening, we're going to get ready to get up out of here. Deuces.